Afternoon, everybody. Paul Terry Walhus here with Robert J. Nagy. We're going to do the After Stages podcast for stage 18 of the Tour de France. And I asked Bob to show up here because nobody else would. I have no interest. There's no interest in showing up for a Google Hangout anymore. But anyway, that's the way it is. But anyway, today was stage 18, and basically Chris Froome held his own, held his position. There was a lot of mix-up, and they went up the mountain, and Froome held his position with the yellow jersey, and that's pretty much it. We can go into detail later. We watched the Stages podcast with Lance and J.B. Hager and George Hincapie, and I can comment on that later. But first, I want to go into a little bit of history. We have a little history lesson here, and Bob knows a little bit about my history, so he can chime in on this. But back in, I think it was 2007, was one of the final tours that Lance ran, and we had an event at Central Market in Austin, and basically, I had been working for a sports drink company called Trek, and Trek needed a promotion. So we took a whole 18-wheeler load full of these Trek drinks, which there were 9 different kinds, and we gave them out at Central Market during the entire Tour de France, from beginning to end. From day 1 all the way to day 21, we gave away drinks, we gave away Trek bikes, we gave away these T-shirts right here. This is the last one I have. We gave away these T-shirts, and I was a huge Lance fan, huge Lance fan. Obviously, we dedicated 21 days. We had a promotion. We gave away sports drinks. It was a big deal. And then after that, at some point, the shit hit the fan, and Lance got in all that trouble, went on Oprah, apologized on Oprah. And now, after all these years, Lance is finally kind of making a little bit of re-entry into society and into the media with this Stages podcast. If you want to see it, it's at stagespodcast.com. So we started this podcast called After Stages to go on after Lance's. Great idea, but I pulled it together too fast because I just had the idea 2 days ago, registered the domain, built the website, and it's too fast. So it was an experiment. It's a fun experiment, but it's just an experiment. We don't have hordes of people watching the podcast. But we're doing it anyway just to learn about how to do podcasts. And this little device is what they're using to do Facebook Live sessions of Lance's podcast. So Bob, I'm doing all the talking, and I know you have things to say.
Oh yeah, I'm just queuing up in my brain, where it's hard to stop the flow.
You remember that Central Market? Were you around then?
I was not in Austin at that point, but I did partake in the Trek's experience there, and I was glad to see that you took a sip out of one of the remaining bottles that was now 10 years old or something like that, and you said it was still functional there as a liquid. I literally was just at my fridge pouring liquid out of a Trek's bottle into this glass over here. So they're still around my house over here in constant use, the high-quality Nalgene bottles. So unlike the competitors of their type, they use the lab-grade Nalgene plastic. It was like, I could tell right away because I worked in the lab that that's the good stuff. So I think ever since then, they said Nalgene's no good either for you, but that's what you use in a lab so you don't have any contamination from the plastic. And yeah, those were, I remember I almost got into a severe car accident because of those at the Y out on 1209 and 969. I had so much of that SHIT in my trunk that when I hit the brakes in the rain, the car just slid right into the intersection. Cars went around me. It wouldn't stop. You kept giving me another case of that crap. And So we have had garbage bags full of empty Trex bottles in the garage for a long time. We're down to I think a small box of them.
Well, I'm sorry that that almost led to your demise.
Yeah, Trex almost killed me.
It would have been an early demise.
Yeah, Trex almost killed me. That stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's like I tell people the spring water in hot springs almost killed me as well, because I brought home my first glass jugs from the springs, and it was so hot I put it on the back deck. And when I half an hour later, there's billowing smoke out back, and I look, and the jugs had magnifying glass the sun onto the deck and set it on fire. So there you go. Liquids can kill you.
Definitely. So anyway, you never made it down to Central Market for it was called the what do we call it? Oh, Tour Watch 2007. That's what we branded it as, and we had a daily podcast with some guys from Australia.
Yep. I remember your laptop there set up, the whole thing.
We had a live stream, did the whole 21 days, gave away the t-shirts, we gave the Trex bikes we gave away were really good bikes. They were like $800 bikes. They were called Trek 4500s. They were kind of like a dirt bike,
Mm-hmm.
We gave away a few of those, and gave away an entire semi truck full of Trek drinks. That's literally, they shipped them down from Canada.
Yeah.
But now Lance, and Lance is like, he's coming back, he's, and a lot of my friends just hate Lance, like Michelle Greer, she hates Lance. And some guy posted something on my face wall today that said, it was just scathing denial of Lance. My view is that Lance is like somebody interesting who has a lot of insight into cycling, who won 7 stages on what was probably somewhat of a level playing field, and that probably most of those guys were doing the same thing he did. Not defending him. He did, like Michelle said, he did rat on his teammates, which wasn't cool. It wasn't a cool thing to do. Sue his teammates, and he was adamantly defensive of it for a long time. But now he seems to have made a turn, and he seems to be, from watching the Stages podcast, the guy is really honest. He's not grandiose. He's humble. He's got a lot of great insights to share, and he's pretty funny too. He tells some pretty funny stuff, and he's got an incredible Boulder guy routine that he does. The Boulder accent is kind of similar to the California guy accent.
Yep.
He's got that down, man. He's not imitating Taylor Finney. He actually developed this 10 years ago,
Everybody deserves a second chance. It's the same Bill Clinton effect, I call it. Generally, all magnificent, amazing performing people are flawed, and they have some glaring flaw, and Lance is no exception. So that's what I say. If you're a super stellar virtuoso performer, well, we'll put up with you if you're irritating, neurotic, or if you're flawed in some other way. But if you're just a mediocre performer, then you don't get away with being flawed. So, and a lot of times the people that are the most vociferous about this stuff, that it's not, they're not complaining about him, actually. They're complaining about themselves, what's wrong with them. Basically, he reminds them of what they hate most in themselves. They can't forgive themselves for, so they can't forgive him for it. Like they couldn't forgive Bill Clinton, and all the Bill Clinton castigators landed up to be, guys at the airport bathroom with 10-year-olds. So it wasn't, consenting adults of the opposite sex. So basically, your hyper castigators are always, there's something going on with them too.
Yeah, and it's about redemption, and I see the bad that Lance did. I see, how much did he give away? $500 million to cancer.
A lot of good. I mean, same thing with the Clintons. The net good is there.
$500 for cancer is not a drop in the bucket. That's pretty significant, And I can't fall down totally for Lance, and I can't fall down totally against Lance. I'm kind of like mixed, because I see the good and the bad, but I really think that redemption is at play.
Oh, you're talking forgiveness.
Everybody deserves a second chance, a redemption. You know.
I hear you, and it would be a lot easier if he wasn't such a bodacious egotist.
Right. Yeah, he's exhibiting less and less of that, I think. You know.
Well, his thing that he did was, I would say, much worse than anything Bill Clinton ever did, as far as the blatancy of the lying and such like that. You know, I hate to compare him to Clinton, but it is a similar effect that, you know, when they asked Clinton if he had sex with the person, well, he didn't have sex with that person. If you're a lawyer, he's going to land up and having a kid. So technically he didn't, but that was considered a lie. They changed the meaning of having sex and everything. With Armstrong, you just have a lot of people that were re-stimulated about betrayal and about, you know, drugs or whatever it is that they hate most in themselves. So they land up hating him because they can't forgive themselves over what he reminds them is wrong with themselves. So, but if the guy wasn't such an egotist, he'd be a lot easier to forgive.
Yeah, yeah, and like I say, he's showing less and less of that side of him in this podcast, and he's kind of just getting down to it's kind of subtly admitting it, you know. And he did this funny thing with he did a short 1 minute YouTube video about he was down in the basement of Mellow Johnny's bike shop in Austin, you know, with some swag that they were sending out, and he had grabbed this envelope, and he says, "Now, how do you do this? How do you put this in here?" You know, there's this lady helping him. You know, he says, "Oh, okay, you do it like that, Lance." And so he puts it together, and he seals the envelope, and he holds it up, and he says, "U.S. Post Office is going to get it there reliably." This is the outfit that's suing him right now for $100 million. You know,
The post office.
so the post office, yeah, he's under a lawsuit next month or something.
No, the post office could sue anybody.
Oh yeah, he's being sued by the post office. So anyway, that I do see he's funny. You know, he's actually well spoken. He's a way better podcaster than me. You know, I can't pull off as decent of a podcast persona as Lance. He's actually got a fairly good delivery. He gets along well with his co-hosts. He's incredibly full of information. Like today, he talked about, remember that the most memorable moment in his whole career was when he went off the road through the field and then had to get back on the course, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The way he described it today is like you've never heard this before. What actually happened is that he was going down and he couldn't go right because some guy was blocking him, and he had to go left or something. And so he had to go, he looked at a field, mountainside field going down, and it was filled with irrigation ditches, and it was like a disaster waiting to happen. So where does he land when he takes off that road? He lands right on the farmer's path through the field on every day. You know, it's like a path through there.
Perfect.
And so he goes down this path, and then he blockage, so he has to stop and throw his bicycle up on his shoulder and jump over blockade. And then there he is holding his bike with all these guys coming at him, you know. And it was just remarkable luck that he had, you know. It wasn't all skill. I mean, it took some skill to assess what was going on and accept what was going on and take advantage of it. But just little stories like that, you know. The guy's got a lot of insights. He was there during those 7 stages. There was an article in the New York Times today about Lance. The New York Times had an article, and basically they said the same thing I'm saying. They said, yeah, Lance screwed up big time. He's also somewhat redeeming himself by doing this podcast, you know, and story, you know. Maybe I can find it. Maybe I can share this. Well, I don't know. I probably ought to not share the screen because every tech thing I try to do today ends up in disaster.
It's true.
So what's going on in your life, Bob? You left Austin, and not many people leave Austin, Texas.
That's great. I
considered
upgraded.
the Nirvana Mecca, ultimate destination. Why would anybody leave?
Is that your side or my side? Well, the deal is that there's always mitigating circumstances. For me, it was an upgrade because I had done Austin at what I consider its hottest time and my best time in my life, 20s to late 40s, through Austin's 80 through 2003 period there. I thought that was, ideal pairing for me. And also, you just don't want to get sick of the place and everything else. But I wanted to honor the phase of life I'm in, because really, if you're 23 in Austin making 100K plus, then you can have a lovely life and spend a lot of money having a great time, and you don't mind traffic and heat and everything else. So we all did that, except on the cheap back in the old days. But then you got to go other places where, you're respect the age that you're at, where you're not run over by 23-year-olds. You don't feel like an old fart. None of us from our generation want to feel like old geezers, We're youth-oriented, fast-paced people. So I don't really want to. Over 40, I was a geezer in Austin, and I don't want to feel like a geezer for the rest of my life. So I had to get out of there, especially because of that Super Looper SH-130 coming through my subdivision. That also helped. But it was a perfect move for me, and for many others I know that want to slow down and get back to the way it was when we first moved to Austin, where you're not, Austin, it's laid back. Remember that? That was what it was when we got there, and that's sort of the way I liked it, So that's why I'm at Hot Springs here. Yeah,
you're at laid back Hot Springs. You started a solar-powered radio station.
Oh yeah, I recreated
great radio station, Bob. Great radio station.
KUHS LP. We also started our own food cooperative, and my wife's giving a talk on that right now on food co-op to a group. So we recreate the stuff that we lost. We just recreate it.
And you're somewhat of a cyclist. You're kind of innovative when it comes to.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm working with a Taiwanese company right now on a new range of trikes, aluminum trikes and stuff. These are tadpole style with the 2 wheels in the front, 1 wheel in the back. And so I'm doing hot rodding and modding, optimize the design, doing review videos and that kind of stuff. And trying to get some exercise. But of course, now that it's extremely hot out there, I'm just going to the lake instead, But yeah, I've got upside down recumbents hanging in the garage, specialized bikes and stuff, sure.
And you're helping us with our little solar installation out here.
I will tell you an interesting thing.
Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get you any kind of solar power stuff. Just shoot me a question at askbobquestions@gmail. Yeah. But we have in the old days when the Civil War was done, they put a narrow gauge, like 6 foot wide, the whole thing, a railway coming in here. And a lot of the Civil War guys came in and set up camp and tried to get steam baths and everything. But that pathway that's going through the woods from Little Rock to here is 58 miles long, and we are converting it to a bike trail through the deepest woods, and it's going to land up in Hot Springs here, where we're also building a multi-mountaintop BMX-style bike course. So this is going to be a bike destination.
Bye. And I've got another question for you. Today was significant in that O.J. Simpson was granted parole. Just granted parole in Nevada. Okay. So how would you compare Lance Armstrong to O.J. Simpson? How would you compare and contrast them?
We absolutely know what O.J. what Lance did. I mean, Lance was all on the table. We know exactly what happened now. There's no contention about it. There's still unanswered questions about O.J. And they're saying that one of the reasons that he didn't get slammed harder was that people tend to believe things that are in rhymes, and remember, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Right.
And it's very difficult to rebuke logic like that when it rhymes. The brain has a bias towards rhymes. Amazing, or poetry, and it's more believable if in poetry. That actually worked to great benefit to him. But you look at him and you look at Cosby and such, and you go, my God, they seem like such sweet, nice people. How could this happen? So Nobody really knows the abject truth on this. Nobody knows exactly what happened. A lot of times these things are accidental manslaughter or something weird, and the truth never really does come out. But like you say, how many years did he spend in jail? You know, give the guy another chance. I mean, chances are he's not going to do anything weird.
We have some watchers. We have at least 5 watchers. We have Dee Dee Baldwin, Paul Woolens, Emily, and William Fowler. I have to read sideways here because I'm using the phone sideways. And it's Patterson, Pavlik Patterson. So we do have an audience. Yeah, it's that basically I pretty much agree with you that Lance, everything's out on the table now, and he's got a chance at redemption. And OJ it's so messed up, and he's so shot himself in the foot today that all the CNN commentators would say these guys are not going to let him go because he just went on and on. He just, like, everybody watching him said, "Stop talking, OJ, stop talking," and he kept on digging himself deeper and deeper.
What was the
total shock when the parole board came back and they all said they're all letting him go.
So how many years did he spend?
He spent 9 years there out of a potential 33-year sentence. You know,
more than most abject murderers spend
for a crime that most people would never have done any time for, but because he was OJ, they hit him, you know.
Oh, that's enough. So we don't even know he did it, you know.
So you compared and contrasted OJ and Lance. There you go.
Lance, a completely different case. You kidding? You know, one's Negro, one's white. I mean, they're completely different. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I think you can relate to Lance more.
Pretty different in the eyes of the law, but they're both celebrities, which makes them roughly equal.
Right.
Yeah. You know, yeah. Lance, like I said, if he was a sweet guy and deferential, you could go, yeah, I'll forgive him. But, you know, that ultimate blowfish attitude, you know, is pufferfish attitude. It's difficult. And I personally don't care. Give the guy another chance. What, he's still got more to give to the world. You know, I mean, you look at the net positive that people do in the world, and, like, I mean, people crapping on Carter all the time. For what was that again? I don't even know. The guy's, you know, blasting through cancer, building houses for people. I mean, like I said, most of the time the complainers are complaining about what's wrong with themselves because they've been reminded of what they hate most of themselves, that they're not out building houses for poor people, or they're not out, you know, doing good in the world, and so they love to throw rocks. So yeah, it's always the case. Watch out for people that are really complaining about something and you just go, oh yeah, that's what's wrong with you, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
The one thing they got wrong in the New York Times article was they made a reference to they said Lance pointed to memorabilia and said, yeah, I don't know why the post office he didn't say the post office. He said, I don't know why they haven't come and picked this up. But what it was is they had a public podcast at Mellow Johnny's bike shop. I was there. I did a video using this device here.
Is that the DJI?
Yeah, but I didn't take the DJI, so it's all like, you know, like this. A big mistake, huge mistake. Not to take the DJI. I guess I was feeling I would stand out or something, but I should have taken it. Anyway, what it was Lance pointed to his 7 yellow jerseys up on the wall at Mellow Johnny's and said, I'm surprised they haven't come to pick these up, you know.
Yeah.
The New York Times didn't quite get that part of its story, you know. Even the New York Times messes up sometimes.
Austin was not a bike town, in other words, an internationally known bike town, until Lance put it on the map. It should have been for a long time because it was a high bike usage town. A lot of people, a lot of bike shops, but there was never any convention, any rallies or races or stuff going on. The whole time I lived there, 25 years, it never was a bike rally or convention there. Finally, Lance put them on the map, and, you know, should have been there all the time, because in the United States, there's only a handful of places where a lot of people are cyclists. You know,
I think I have somebody rumbling up to the door here. Let's go see who's at the door.
Probably some late trick-or-treater or who knows what.
Hey, Shay, come on in. we're kind of doing a podcast, but you can be a guest, okay? You could be a guest on our podcast. Shay
the mini house.
Shay just went to Home Depot.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Home Despot, huh?
Home Despot, and she got some stuff. What'd you get, Shay?
I got paint. I got the gasket for the tub. I got a hose repair kit.
Yeah, Shay was out there hooking it up with her panel and her battery and her ice maker and multiple shade devices, umbrellas of all sizes.
Do you have any questions for Bob?
Yeah, I actually was about to order some 6-volt batteries, but I held off until.
Okay, battery question, Bob. You've got a battery question.
Come on in closer because your audio's blipping. Yes, take a seat. You know, pull up to the dais here. You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you, Zog.
This isn't a parole hearing.
She's in one of those maker bot type of spaces out there. There's like, but you see like all these millions of like things that you could combine to make different things in this sort of outdoor workspace that may turn into a micro house or something. Who knows?
So I was gonna order some batteries, and I guess you had said do the 6-volt, like 2 6-volts.
Golf cart batteries. Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could get the trolling batteries. You know, you can get 2 in series. You know, Paul can help you with that. 2 in series golf cart, or you can get 1 12-volt industrial or deep cycle battery, trolling batteries that they have at Sam's Club or Walmart. You know, and there's not any good deals on these. Sam's Club and Walmart both run sales occasionally. Walmart more often on the large trolling batteries, and that's probably the best deal you're going to get. But you do need several of them. You know, if you really want to make a serious power supply going on out there.
There's like a pack of 6 on Amazon.
Pack of 6 on Amazon?
Yeah, it's all about the brand and quality. If you get a cheap brand,
I can tell.
They will only last a year or so. If you get a good brand, they'll last three to 5
years. You don't want to ship because you're paying for shipping lead. You want to pick them up someplace locally where they've already shipped them to, because shipping lead is, you know, it's expensive. Shipping 6 golf cart batteries, that would be a hideous amount of money.
Okay, good to know.
You have to come in by semi in a big truck.
Walmart?
Yeah, Walmart. Just look around and see who's running the sale on trolling batteries, they call them, for like boats. They put them in the back for the trolling motor. And they make 2 sizes, about an 80 size and a 100 size, a little bit smaller and a little bit bigger. If you can get the bigger one, just, you know, see what kind of deal you can get. What I do is I go to the industrial battery place where they have like a warehouse for forklift batteries and all kind of batteries, a million kind of batteries, and just go, look, what do you got a deal on? And they'll go, well, this guy ordered these ones for this forklift. He never picked them up, and I'll give them to you for $50 or something. You go, yeah, I could, because you could use any size. You don't need a specific size. You could use any physical size. So whatever they have that somebody didn't pick up, you could go, yeah, I could use that at the right price.
Maybe like Interstate Battery Warehouse off of Burleson.
Yeah, you look. There's a couple of different battery distribution places that handle stuff for all kind of things, golf carts and everything else. They'll just have a warehouse and a small front office and go, look, I need a deep cycle battery, but I need not a car starting battery. I need a deep cycle battery, any shape, size, or whatever that you can sell me at a discount.
You don't know brands, though, do you, Bob?
Well, you want to avoid Interstate.
Avoid Interstate.
Yeah, Interstate batteries suck.
Really?
Trojan are the best. There's a couple of the Crown are really great. There's a couple of really good ones, but the only ones to avoid is Trojan, is Interstate, and the rest of them you'll see they'll put Duracell or Energizer or whatever. It doesn't even. They're generically made in some factory in Peoria, Illinois. They're all the same. So whatever you're going to buy, just look for it. They'll run a sale, especially during season, like $64 or $74 at Walmart. And if you see that, just snag them there. But also, look around Paul's property and find a bunch of dead batteries. Paul, you've got some dead batteries, right?
Yeah, we'll take those.
Yeah, those are worth $10, $15 trade-in value. Otherwise, you'll have to pay that in addition. So go around, even if it's a little motorcycle battery, the tiniest gel cell, Paul, find an old alarm battery. That's a battery. Even the crappiest little thing like that, bring it up and you'll get your $10 or $15 credited towards the battery.
Sweet.
Because it'll be a shocker if you have to pay extra when you go up there.
And the wire, did you tell them about the wire John showed you last night?
Yeah, I've got a chunk of wire out in the golf cart.
Oh,
or in the
Okay.
truck, either the truck or the golf cart, one of the two. That's the right size. Yeah.
awesome.
You want, bigger is better. You can't overdo it, but you can sure underdo
This
it.
big around like this.
Yeah, well, that's double lot. What you want is fibery, multi-stranded, not a one solid block. Stranded is best
This
because you can.
is stranded. Yeah, it's stranded.
You want the biggest ass one you got at the shortest distance from the batteries to that inverter.
Right.
Like if it was a foot long, that would be ideal.
Stranded are about a foot long.
And then you get the battery lugs. You
This
buy
thick.
you buy a whole card of battery lugs. Those lead things are on the top of the batteries. You buy a card of 10 of them from the auto parts store, and they're like super cheaper than buying one. They'll be $249 each, or there'll be a card for $12 of 10 of them.
Cool.
So get a card of them because you only need 2 per battery.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah,
And between the batteries, 2 gauge between the batteries is fine. Just keep them clean, small, that kind of thing.
I heard Continental batteries were the best. Have you heard that?
Continentals are great. Continentals are great. The heavier the battery is, the better it is. It's got more lead in it. You pick up a battery that's really light.
Continentals.
in the Cadillac too.
Yeah.
You pick up a battery and it's really light. It's a POS. It's got to be heavy. You're paying for the lead, and it's almost 100% recycled too. There's nothing to feel bad about buying lead batteries. All that shit goes back into a giant barge going to Taiwan, and they just melt them down and make more batteries out of them.
Oh, Shay, do you have any opinions on Lance Armstrong?
No.
None at all. Okay, I didn't think so. She's not really a media or anything like that. She spends all her time working outdoors.
So something happened. Something happened to you at 10:03.
My son was born at 10:03.
I knew it was something. Very good. We have dimples in common. Mine are hidden. All right, I got to deliver about a dozen drones to the Innovative Technology Center over here, so I'm going to load this shit up and get mobile.
All right, Bob.
Are you in Bastrop?
No,
Again, please? I'm in Hot Springs. Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Oh, Arkansas.
Yeah. I'm an Austin refugee. I just
Let's check it out.
really couldn't afford to live down there anymore, and now we're in a place that's like Austin 1975,
When are
but a
you
lot nicer.
when are you going to see us?
Well, we're going to go on a trip down to the beach at some point, so we'll stop through or whatever.
Cool. We want to see you, Bob.
Absolutely. I just had to escape. That SH-130 knocked us out of our solar-powered home in East Austin. But that's okay. Hot Springs is a wonderful place. Y'all always have a landing pad here, la-di-da.
La-di-da.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. That concludes today's podcast.
That concludes.